Ever feel like, you just can't relax in your own home? Like, the mess is kind of stressing you out?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
not alone. We're diving into something pretty interesting today: decluttering and stress.
Right.
We're exploring a recent episode of Tidy Talk we found. See if cleaning up your space can actually, lead to a calmer, happier you.
Yeah, and it's not just about like making things look nice on the surface either. We're really going to dig into the why, the psychology, and even the biology behind how all that clutter is impacting our minds. You know what I mean?
Okay, so let's unpack this whole cluttered space, cluttered mind idea. Is there any truth to that, or is that just something like our parents told us to get us to clean up?
Well, you know what? There's actually a lot of research to back that up. Imagine this. Your eyes are constantly darting around, right?
Uh,
Just scanning a visually chaotic space, trying to find a place to land, but there's just like no visual rest.
Right.
That constant stimulation puts your brain into overdrive. It's like your environment's fighting for your attention, making it harder to focus.
So it's not just me. My to-do list actually feels longer when my desk is a disaster.
You're not imagining it. Tidy Talk highlighted some studies that showed people with cluttered homes, they tend to have higher levels of that stress hormone, cortisol.
Yeah.
The one that makes you feel all on edge, even when other factors are accounted for.
So it's not just about how it looks. It's actually like impacting us biologically.
That's wild.
Hmm.
But okay, here's the thing. I don't know about you, but my life is not exactly set up for a perfectly organized home 24/7. So what's the solution? Do we all need to become minimalists to actually get these benefits?
That's where it gets really encouraging. You absolutely do not need to live in a showroom to feel the positive effects of decluttering. Even small, manageable changes can make a huge difference. Tady Talk mentioned this one study where they found people, they just took time to organize just their bedrooms, their closets. They had way lower cortisol levels compared to those who didn't.
Yeah.
So it's less about being perfect and more about making like mindful choices, just reducing that visual noise.
Exactly. Every little bit counts. Tidy Talk even gave the example of just like clearing off one surface every evening, like your kitchen counter, just create a little oasis of calm. It's a small act with some potentially big rewards.
That makes a lot of sense. Instead of letting the day's chaos linger, you're ending on a note of order. It's like a micro meditation on tidying.
I love that way of putting it. It's about being intentional with your space and in turn being intentional with your mental state.
Okay, this is already making me rethink my whole approach to cleaning. But before we go any further, we have to address the thing that always trips me up. The difference between decluttering and organizing, are they the same thing?
Ah, the classic conundrum. People use these terms interchangeably all the time, but they're different processes. Think of it this way. Decluttering is about subtracting, removing what you don't need or love anymore, just to create some breathing room. Organizing, on the other hand, that's about strategizing, creating systems for what you do choose to keep.
So it's like, don't even think about buying those fancy drawer dividers until you've actually tackled the junk drawer first.
You got it. Tidy Talk used this analogy. They said decluttering is like removing the extra weight from a backpack before you even think about organizing what's left. You got to have that solid foundation before you start building any of those elaborate systems.
That's a really helpful way to think about it. Okay, I'm already feeling less overwhelmed. But time is precious. And I know our listeners, they're busy people. So what if you're someone who's thinking, okay, this all sounds great, but who has the time for all this decluttering?
Tidy Talk had some great advice about that too. And it all starts in part two.
All right, so for those of us who don't have a ton of free time, how do we actually fit decluttering into our already busy schedules?
Well, that's where those small but impactful actions really come in. Like Tidy Talk called them 10-minute techniques. Just quick bursts of decluttering that you can squeeze into even the busiest day.
Okay, 10 minutes. I think I can handle that. Tell me more.
Well, one technique is the 5-minute reset. And it's really simple, actually. You just set a timer for 5 minutes at the end of each day, and you tidy up one small area.
Okay.
Could be your desk, your coffee table, even just like a corner of your countertop.
Right.
Anything to end the day with a little bit of order.
It's like a little reward for your future self, right? Waking up to a bit of calm instead of that lingering chaos from the day before. I like that. What else?
Another one I love is the one in, one out rule.
Okay.
Basically, for every new item that comes into your house, something else has got to go. So you get a new pair of shoes, donate an old pair, buy a new stack of books, pass them along to a friend.
Ooh, that's smart. It's a really good way to stop that clutter from piling up in the first place. Okay, this is starting to feel doable. What's that last technique?
This one's my personal favorite.
Okay.
Especially if you're like me and you find things kind of migrating all over the house. It's called the bedtime basket.
Bedtime basket. That sounds intriguing. And maybe even a little cozy.
Right. So you have a designated basket somewhere central, and throughout the day you just toss in any items that need to go back to their rightful place, like stray toys, misplaced mail, you name it. Then, before you go to bed, just a quick 5 minutes to put everything back where it belongs.
Oh, that is clever. It really takes the pressure off trying to keep things perfectly in order all day long. And it turns that end of day tidying into like a little ritual.
Exactly. And over time, these small but consistent actions can lead to some really big changes, both in your space and your stress levels. But it's not all about quick fixes. Tidy Talk also talked about how important it is to build more sustainable systems. That way your freshly decluttered spaces don't just go back to being chaotic.
Right. It's like anything else. We want to build habits, not just do these one-off things. So how do we actually make decluttering part of our regular routine instead of like this frantic scramble every now and then?
Well, they had this concept called the Sunday reset,
Okay.
dedicating just like 20 to 30 minutes every Sunday to kind of prepare your home for the week.
Okay, so not just meal prepping, but space prepping. I can get behind that. So what kinds of things would you do during a Sunday reset?
It can be as simple as like planning out your meals for the week and decluttering your fridge. Or maybe, organizing your entryway so it's ready for that Monday morning rush. It's about being proactive, setting yourself up for a smoother, less stressful week.
It's like that Benjamin Franklin quote, right? For every minute spent organizing, an hour is earned, or something like that.
Exactly. And what they said was key to actually maintaining these systems? Labels.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Sounds simple, but honestly, it makes all the difference.
Labels are everything. I mean, when everything has a designated spot and it's clearly labeled, it's so much easier to keep everything in order.
Absolutely. And it's not about the aesthetics. It's not about having that picture-perfect pantry you see on Instagram. It's about reducing that mental load, that feeling of constantly being surrounded by things that need your attention.
It's like reclaiming a sense of calm and control over your space. And when your environment feels more peaceful, you feel more peaceful too, right?
Exactly. Remember that study we talked about? The one that found a link between all the clutter and higher cortisol levels?
Yeah.
Well, when you create a clutter-free environment, it can actually do the opposite.
Ah,
It reduces stress and it creates a feeling of tranquility. It's like a visual exhale.
I love that. A visual exhale, like you're giving yourself permission to just relax.
And you know what else Tidy Talk pointed out? It's not just about how we feel physically, it's about our emotional well-being too.
Okay, I'm interested. What's the connection there between decluttering and our emotions? What does that look like? So we've talked about the science behind clutter and stress, how even taking small actions can make a difference. But you mentioned an interesting link between decluttering and our emotions. What's the
Well,
connection?
just think about it this way. When you're decluttering, you're not just getting rid of stuff, right?
Hmm.
You're letting go of things that have like emotional baggage.
Right.
Old clothes that don't fit anymore, gifts you felt like you had to keep, items that just represent some past version of yourself.
Yeah, it's like they become these physical reminders of like things we might be holding on to emotionally, guilt, regret, even just a fear of letting go.
Exactly. Tidy Talk actually shared this one story about a listener who finally let go of a box of old love letters.
Oh, wow.
It was clutter that had been weighing her down for years, and letting go, she said, it was totally liberating.
Wow. It's like decluttering, it's a form of self-care, not just for our homes, but for our like hearts and minds too.
Absolutely. And it's not even just about letting go of the past either. Decluttering can also be about making space for the things that really matter now. So by removing those distractions, you're giving yourself the mental and physical space to really focus on your passions, relationships, just your overall well-being.
I love that this goes way beyond just like the aesthetics of it all. It's about creating a home that reflects and supports like who you are now and who you want to be.
Exactly. It's about making a space that you love, that inspires you to live your best life.
This deep dive has been so eye-opening. It's incredible how something like decluttering can have such a huge effect on our well-being.
Yeah. It really is about understanding how much power our environment has, making those conscious choices to create a space that supports us mentally, emotionally, even physically.
As we're wrapping up this deep dive into decluttering, I want to leave our listeners with this. What's one area in your life where you could use a little visual exhale? What's that one spot that's been bugging you? What do you think would be different if you just cleared it out? Thank you so much for joining us today on this journey to a more mindful and clutter-free life. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your decluttering wins, challenges, even just your favorite tips with us on social media. Until next time, happy decluttering.